Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a consumable in Rec Room. So let's get into it. Alright, let's get started. So in order to have a consumable, which you can use to, for example, open a door, give currency to a player, or give them a role, we want to create the consumable. We do this by going into our watch and go into the This Room options. We want to go into the settings of the room and then hover over till we see consumables. Once we click on there, we see a button which tells us add consumable. When we click on there, we can make our consumable. We can add an image, but we're not going to do that for now. So let's start with adding the consumable name. I'm going to call this test. Then we have to give it a consumable description. Alright, this is a test. And then all the way at the bottom, we can set the consumable cost. We can set this either to tokens or to a room currency. We do not have a room currency as of now, so we're just gonna have it set to tokens. Please note that you do need Rec Room plots in order to sell consumables. I'm going to set this at 100 tokens. Then click save. And now your consumable is made. Now once we made the consumable, we want to start adding the circuits. We want to grab our makeup pen. We can do this by going over to Home, Backpack, and then click Use on the makeup pen. Or you can have the favorite option turned on, and then you can grab the makeup pen from your back. Alright, so for the consumable, we want to go over to our palette and type consumable into the search option. Here we go. This will bring us to the consumable button. Once we spawn the button, it will say configure. We want to go over to our configure tool on the makeup pen and click on the button. In the settings, we will see choose existing consumable or create new consumable. We already made our consumable, so we're going to click on existing. Here it will show all the consumables that you made. We made the one called test, so we're going to click on that. Now we see we added it to the button. If we click on the button, it will give us the menu to buy the consumable. Now a player in your room can buy the consumable. Once a player buys this consumable for 100 tokens, the creator of the room gets 70 tokens. So now let's see what happens when we click buy consumable. Since we are the creator of the room, you will not be charged for this purchase. So let's buy it. And we bought the consumable. We can go over to our backpack and it will say use. You will notice that you click use, nothing will happen and it will be stuck on activating. That's because we're missing the circuits. And that's what we're going to do right now. Alright, so now let's start making the circuit for the consumable. We want to start by grabbing our makeup pen and go over to the palette and then into the search option. We want to search for something called a event receiver. And we want to spawn the event receiver. Then we want to look for a consumable constant. There it is. Then we want to look for the consumable activate chip and for the consumable deactivate chip. Then we want to look for a chip called equals and the if chip. And then lastly, we want a delay. Alright, so I aligned the circuits a little bit to make it look better, and now let's start wiring it up. Firstly, we want to go over to our configure tool and configure our event receiver and consumable constant. We want to set our consumable constant to this consumable, in our case test. Then we want to go over to the event receiver and we want to set the event to consumable used. Now, let's go over to our connect tool. The consumable used is going to send out the output when the consumable is used. It's going to give us the consumable that is used. So that's why we have our equals chip. We want to connect the consumable that's used to our constant consumable. What this does is it's going to check if the consumable that is being used is equal to our constant. You're going to need this when you have multiple consumables, so this event receiver is going to tell us which circuit to run. We want to connect the boolean into our if chip, and then connect the output of the event receiver consumable used into the if chip. So if the consumable used equals the consumable test, then we can run it. We're going to send this into our consumable activate, and then into a delay. Then after the delay is over, we're going to deactivate the consumable. Now we want to connect the consumable used into the consumable, like that. Now, lastly, we want to change the time of the delay, and I'm going to set it to 1 second. Alright, so now our consumable should work. In order to test it, I'm going to use a sound effect. So I'm going to type SFX, and I'm going to spawn the sound effect over here. Now, let's wire up the consumable deactivate or the run of the delay into the chip. It does not really matter which one you use, just that the consumable deactivate is going to use a second delay. So we're going to use run. Now, let's go over to the configure tool and pick a cool sound effect. I'm going to choose collectible. Alright, so now let's see if our consumable works. I'm going over to buy a consumable and spent 100 tokens. If I go over to my backpack and I use it, we saw and heard the sound effect. So that's how you make a consumable. Into Rec Room. You can use these consumables for stuff like speed boost, jump boost, whatever in your game. Please know that the consumable only runs once. It's different than a key. When someone buys a key, they have it forever. And when someone buys a consumable, they can only use it one time, and it will send the circuit one time. If you set this up to, for example, a cloud variable, then it will be forever. But most people use a consumable to have small purchases that the user is gonna purchase over and over, such like a starter pack on a game, and after the game it resets, so you have to buy it again if you want to use it again. I hope this video was helpful to you all. We're gonna have new tutorials coming very soon, and if you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.